Yes, my people, as the halt, it don't happen. Oh, this is really shocking. So, Michael Jackson, the king of pop, is still alive and he was spotted. Huh? So, the story over the years say this man don't RIP and they have even buried him in space. Now, people have spotted this man and he has revealed many things. Man, not talk too much, just listen to this shocking revelation. Inside this video, as you're watching it, please hit this like button, share this video, make everyone see him.
Minutes ago, headlines were buzzing with the shocking claim that Michael Jackson, believed to be gone, has been spotted alive at 65. Growing up with his father's strict rules and his mother's kind care, Michael's early life was a blend of tough discipline and loving family moments. Could this tough upbringing help explain the shocking news that would later emerge about Michael Jackson? As we deal with the shocking news of his strange sighting, stay with us as we reveal the truth behind this incredible story, family hardships, and his rise to star. Michael Jackson grew up in a very strict household. His father, Joe, was a disciplinarian who often used a belt to maintain order. His mother, Catherine, contrasted this with her kindness and warmth. Musically gifted and originally dreaming of a country singing career, she instead focused on supporting her family through a part-time job at Sears and dedicated herself to her religious beliefs. Life at home was a mix of lively moments with his brothers and sisters and the deep sadness of losing his baby brother, Brandon. One day, a mysterious letter arrived at Michael's door. It had a warning that could reveal big secrets from his past. In 1965, things began to change when Michael became a lead singer in the group, alongside his brother Jermaine. The band, now called the Jackson 5, started to get noticed in local talent shows. Picture Michael, still just a kid, singing and dancing to songs like Barefootin' and My Girl, and winning over crowds with his talent. This was the moment when music became more than just a hobby. It became a serious career path for him, but the challenges didn't stop there. From 1966 to 1968, the Jackson 5 toured on what was known as the Chitlin Circuit, opening for famous acts like Sam and Dave and Gladys Knight. These shows weren't easy and they played in some rough venues, but it helped them grow as performers. One of their biggest moments came in 1967 when they won an amateur night competition at the famous Apollo Theater in Harlem. The excitement of that victory opened up more doors for the group, and they recorded their first single, Big Boy, soon after they returned home to Gary, Indiana. Just when things seemed to be improving, another turning point came. In 1968, after signing with Steeltown Records, the group caught the attention of Bobby Taylor from Bobby Taylor and the Vancouvers, who introduced them to Motown Records. This was the big break they had been hoping for. The whole family moved to Los Angeles knowing they were on the verge of becoming stars. Motown had big plans for them, and Diana Ross was chosen to introduce the Jackson 5 to the world. The crowd was immediately drawn to Michael, and it was clear that something special was happening. Shortly after, the group started releasing hit songs one after another. By January 1970, their song I Want You Back hit #1 on the US Billboard Hot 100. Soon, ABC, The Love You Save, and I'll Be There also climbed to the top, making them a huge success. As their fame grew, they moved into a large home in Encino, California in 1971. Michael was not just a group member, he was quickly becoming a cultural icon. Between 1972 and 1975, he released 4 solo albums, Got to Be There, Ben, Music and Me, and Forever Michael. One of his biggest solo hits, Ben, was even a song about a rat, but it reached #1 and showed just how much people loved him. But as his success grew, new challenges were around the corner. Even though Michael was becoming a solo star, he stayed loyal to his brothers and continued working with the Jackson 5. They kept creating new music that reached people all over the world, and Michael was always trying new things. One of his most famous moments came during a performance of Dancing Machine on Soul Train, where his robotic dance moves stunned the audience and became a cultural hit. But the group felt trapped by Motown's strict rules, and in 1975 they decided to leave the label. They signed with Epic Records, changed their name to the Jacksons, and added their younger brother Randy to the group. Jermaine, however, stayed with Motown for his solo career. The Jacksons went on world tours and released 6 more albums between 1976 and 1984. During this time, Michael became the group's main songwriter, creating hits like Shake Your Body Down to the Ground and Can You Feel It? In 1977, Michael took a big step and moved to New York City to play the Scarecrow in The Wiz, a film with Diana Ross. Even though the movie didn't do well at the box office, it led to Michael meeting Quincy Jones, who would help him create some of his greatest music. Now that we know his beginnings, let's see how Michael soared to fame. From studio sounds to superstardom. While living in New York, Michael became interested in the growing hip-hop culture, especially through his time at Studio 54, a famous nightclub. This new influence started to show up in his music. Around this time, in 1978, he also had his first nose surgery, beginning a long and complicated journey with changing his appearance. Then, in 1979, Michael released the album Off the Wall, which truly marked the moment he transitioned from a teen idol to a global superstar. The album mixed pop, soul, and funk, and included 4 top 10 hits in the US, like Don't Stop Till You Get Enough and Rock With You. It went on to sell more than 20 million copies around the world. In 1980, Michael won 3 American Music Awards, including Favorite Soul/R&B Album, and even a Grammy for Best Male R&B Vocal Performance for Don't Stop Till You Get Enough. But Michael wasn't satisfied yet. He wanted more. By 1980, he had already secured the highest royalty rate in the music industry, earning 37% of the wholesale profits from his albums. This move proved just how powerful and determined he was to reach the top, yet this was only the start of his journey to take over the music world. But what really made Michael Jackson's Thriller so special in the 1980s wasn't just the music. Picture Michael in a dazzling jacket and wearing just one sparkling white glove. This image from his performance at the Motown 25 celebration would become one of the most unforgettable moments in music history. And this was just one of the many iconic moments that were still to come. Between 1981 and 1983, he worked with Freddie Mercury from Queen. Together they made songs like State of Shock, Victory, and There Must Be More to Life Than This. These songs were supposed to be part of a duet album, but things took a strange turn. Freddie was shocked when he brought a llama into the studio. This, along with some disagreements about how they lived their lives, delayed There Must Be More to Life Than This until 2014. On the other hand, State of Shock ended up on the Jacksons' Victory album, but with Mick Jagger instead of Freddie. Now let's jump to 1982, a key year in his career. He started by working on the audiobook for E.T. the Extraterrestrial with the song Someone in the Dark, but the big moment came with the release of Thriller. This album didn't just do well, it became the best-selling album of all time, with about 70 million copies sold worldwide. It stayed on the Billboard 200 chart for 37 weeks and in the top 10 for 80 weeks straight. It was also the first album to have 7 songs in the Billboard Hot 100's top 10, including hits like Billie Jean, Beat It, and Wanna Be Startin' Something. After all this success, it made you wonder what could possibly be next. Another big moment came with his performance on the Motown 25 show on March 25, 1983. He reunited with his brothers for a live show on NBC, which aired on May 16th to 47 million viewers. This is where he first did the moonwalk during Billie Jean, a move that wowed millions and even earned him his first Emmy nomination. At the 26 Grammy Awards, Thriller stole the spotlight, winning 8 Grammys. He still holds the record for that, along with Santana. He and Quincy Jones were named Producers of the Year, and the album won Album of the Year. Beat It got Record of the Year and Best Rock Vocal Performance, while Billie Jean took home 2 Grammys for Best R&B Song and Best R&B Vocal Performance. A lot of this was thanks to Bruce Sweetian's amazing work as the engineer. But that wasn't all. At the 11th American Music Awards, he won 8 more awards and became the youngest person ever to win the Award of Merit. He also won in the Favorite Male Artist category for both Soul/R&B and Pop Rock. Beat It and Thriller were favorites in the video and singles categories too. The music video for Thriller changed music videos forever. It showed him dancing with zombies, and it felt more like a short film than just a video. This helped boost album sales and even won a Grammy for Best Music Video Longform. At this point, he wasn't just a pop star, he was a global icon. Time magazine even called him a one-man rescue team for the music business, breaking down barriers of taste, style, and race. As the New York Times put it, when it came to pop music, there was him, and then there was everyone else. But this wasn't the end of his success. He received $1.5 million from a legal settlement with Grossman Burn Center, which named a burn center after him. His work with Pepsi didn't stop either. In the late 80s, he signed another deal with Pepsi, this time for $10 million. The deal covered 20 countries and helped fund his Bad album and worldwide tour. His influence on music and culture just kept growing. He became a big name in advertising, working with popular brands like LA Gear, Suzuki, and Sony. But it was his partnership with Pepsi that brought him the most financial success. In 1984, he went on the Victory Tour with his brothers. This tour attracted more than 2 million people across the United States and was a huge success. However, it was also a turning point. During the final show at Dodger Stadium, he shocked everyone by announcing that it would be his last tour with his brothers, as he wanted to focus on his solo career. With fame at its peak, Michael faces new hurdles and keeps making his mark. Michael faces challenges but keeps winning. In 1985, another big moment came when he teamed up with Lionel Richie to write We Are the World. The song was made for charity, and it wasn't just a hit on the charts, it sparked a global movement and raised $63 million to help people suffering from famine in Africa and the US. The song broke records, selling 20 million copies and won 4 Grammy Awards, including Song of the Year. But that wasn't all he was doing at the time. Under the advice of Paul McCartney, he learned about the importance of owning song rights and started buying music catalogs. By 1985, he made a big move by buying the ATV music publishing catalog for $475 million, which included most of the Beatles' songs. This made him a major player in the music industry. His personal life started gaining attention, especially because his skin color was changing. Originally medium brown, his skin began to lighten, and this led to a lot of media gossip. People started wondering if he was doing this on purpose, but in 1983, his dermatologist, Dr. Arnold Klein, explained that he had a skin disorder called vitiligo, which causes loss of skin color. He was also diagnosed with discoid lupus around that time. By 1986, the vitiligo was more noticeable, and he began using makeup and possibly creams to even out his skin tone. Despite the rumors, he always insisted that he wasn't trying to change his identity. He was just managing his medical condition. However, it was hard for him to avoid the talk that he was trying to change his race. Even though he was reaching great heights professionally, his personal life became more complicated. But that's not all. During these tough times, he grew close to Dr. Klein and his assistant, Debbie Rowe. She would later become his second wife and the mother of his first 2 children. His changing appearance also became a hot topic. In his 1988 autobiography and a 1993 interview, he admitted to having 2 nose surgeries and a cleft chin procedure. He also said he was trying to stay slim for his dancing career. Yet, rumors continued to swirl about more cosmetic surgeries and possible anorexia, as he often looked very thin and sometimes dizzy. After his death, his mother said that his first surgeries were meant to help with his skin condition, and he didn't want to feel insecure. She also hinted that the extreme pressures he faced might have pushed him to change his looks over time. It was also suggested that he may have had more medical procedures than he admitted to, and some even thought he might have become dependent on them. Let's pause here for a moment because this next story gets even stranger. In 1986, there was a wild rumor about him sleeping in a hyperbaric oxygen chamber to slow down aging. As odd as that sounds, he denied the claim. Still, there were whispers that he had sent a picture of himself inside the chamber to a tabloid, the National Enquirer. Later, he said that the photo was just a publicity stunt for a space-themed movie he was planning to make. Despite all these wild stories, his creativity was shining. He worked with George Lucas and Francis Ford Coppola to create a 17-minute 3D movie called Captain EO. This wasn't just any movie, it was a $30 million project that launched at Disneyland in 1986. Fans loved it. Even though it was discontinued in the late 1990s, it came back after his death and continued to be a hit with fans. Around the same time, Ebony magazine reported in 1987 that he had stepped away from the Jehovah's Witnesses, the religion he had been raised in. It might have been because they were strongly against his Thriller video, which he had to publicly apologize for in one of their magazines back in 1984. But in a 2001 interview, he said he was still part of the faith, leaving people confused about where he really stood on the matter. Now let's talk about his music career during this time. In 1987, he released Bad, his first album in 5 years, and the excitement was huge, and it didn't disappoint. Bad was the first album ever to have 5 songs reach #1 in the US, including hits like I Just Can't Stop Loving You, Bad, The Way You Make Me Feel, and Smooth Criminal. The album was a massive success, winning several Grammys and American Music Awards. It topped the charts in 25 countries, and by 2012, Bad had sold between 30 and 45 million copies worldwide. The Bad World Tour, which ran from September 1987 to January 1989, was also a huge hit. In Japan, he made history by selling out 14 concerts and drawing in 570,000 fans. In the UK, he set another record by selling out 7 shows at Wembley Stadium, pulling in 54,000 fans per show. This achievement earned him a spot in the Guinness World Records. But this wasn't all. In 1988, he told his life story in the autobiography Moonwalk, where he talked about his childhood, his time with the Jackson 5, and the struggles he faced. The book became a bestseller with 200,000 copies sold, and it even hit #1 on the New York Times bestseller list. That same year, he was honored with the Grand Vermeil Medal by the city of Paris and released the movie Moonwalker, which became the top-selling video cassette in the US. And just when you thought he couldn't do more, in March 1988, he bought a huge 2,700-acre property near Santa Ynez, California, which he turned into Neverland Valley Ranch, complete with a Ferris wheel, carousel, and even a zoo. He was like a magical place from a fairy tale, offering him an escape from the constant attention of the world. By the late 1980s, he had become known as the King of Pop, a title given to him by Elizabeth Taylor at the Soul Train Heritage Awards ceremony in 1989. Even President George H.W. Bush called him the Artist of the Decade. His unforgettable performance at Sammy Davis Jr.'s 60th birthday earned him another Emmy nomination. By the end of the 1980s, he wasn't just a famous singer, he was the most well-known person in the world. His music, style, and kindness impacted millions, making him a true cultural icon. However, his personal life was much more complicated. At the height of his fame in 1993, he proposed to Lisa Marie Presley, Elvis Presley's daughter, after they had been dating for a while. They got married in May 1994 in the Dominican Republic, but the marriage didn't last. Many thought it was more about publicity than love. By December 1995, they had separated, and in January 1996, Lisa Marie filed for divorce, only wanting her maiden name back. But this wasn't the hardest part. Even though his personal life was tough, he kept pushing the limits in the music world. He even worked on the video game Sonic the Hedgehog 3 for the Sega Genesis. In June 1995, he made a big comeback with his double album History, Past, Present, and Future, Book 1. The album was a massive hit, topping charts worldwide and selling 20 million copies, making it the best-selling multi-disc album ever. It was a mix of his greatest hits and new songs, and despite mixed reviews, it earned him a Grammy nomination. Could Michael Jackson's recent sighting be just a trick, or is there something bigger we're missing? Tell us what you think, and remember to like and subscribe for more updates.